Okay, this is John Black, Super Chemist. We're here to talk about what you need to buy to grow mushrooms. First, I'm going to go over some stuff that you have to buy. You can't, there's no way you can get out of it. First thing is coco coir, and 11 pounds of this is about $25, $30. But if you get it at Lowe's instead of online, you get it in these bags, and it's more like a mulch. I don't know how much these cost, but if you're doing small, just a couple, maybe you want to just do an ounce to try microdosing, you would just get a little bag like this. You can't get out of not buying that. Another thing is a 6-quart shoe bin with a lid. You need 2 of these. That's probably $4 for $2 each. And then you need a bigger bin. It's like maybe 60 quarts or 50 quarts big, with and that's probably going to be like $10 or something to buy that. That way you can put these 2 inside that bin, and up until you fruit, you can use it as your still box, your still air box. And you can buy these at like 10 of them for $10. They're like $1 each if you get 10 of them. So another thing you're going to need are petri dishes. And that's it. Those 2 things are the only thing you have to buy. I have some glass ones here. I paid $3 a plate for them, but I bought 10 of them. If you buy them individually, they're going to be like $8. If you buy plastic ones, they're about 50 cents each. But do you have to buy them? You can probably use these. These are just like condiment cups with lids. I mean, you can use any jar, really. I could use this jar if I wanted to. I wouldn't want it to be this deep. I'd want to get a mason jar like this size that was clear glass. So you can use anything. But if you have no money, you can always get baby jars from someone who has a baby. And those are free. The same with food. There's always some kind of little jar that you can buy that has food in it that you can eat, and then use the jar afterwards. It doesn't have to be short. It's good to be short. But you can still see inside there, you know what I mean, to the bottom. You can still cut samples out. It would be free because you're buying the food anyway. Agar. This is agar. You can buy it online at eBay. But you can also make it. It's basically just sugar and gelatin. I mean, sugar water that gels up. You can make that very easily if you wanted to, from just products that you have laying around at your home. You'll need some kind of X-Acto knife like this. You get an art supplies at the store like Walmart or whatever, or you need a scalpel like that. But you can use any knife. Get a paring knife out of your drawer that you use for cooking, as long as you can sterilize it with heat. That's free. So far, everything you can do is free except for the bins and the coco coir. You're going to need jars. You're going to need mason jars to spawn in. Now again, do you have to pay for those? No. You can go get some hot fudge sundaes, some hot fudge at the Walmart or whatever. Go buy some pickles. Go buy some kind of thing that's in a jar, and use those jars. You don't have an inner thingy here that you can turn upside down, but you can drill a hole in this and use micro pour tape, and this will work just as good for grain as any other jar. A jar is a jar is a jar. You don't have to pay for it. And when you spawn, you're going to want to use some kind of grains. I got some Bird's Blend, but you can get, popcorn for humans, popcorn at the human store, or go to the feed store and get oats or millet, Milo, really any grain. That's what your mycelium will grow on after the agar, after you put it into the jars. This you will have to buy. So I guess there's a third thing you'd have to buy: the coco coir, grain, and the bins I mentioned. But some of this grain type stuff you might be able to get for free from somebody. You know what I mean? They go to the food bank and they get a lot of rice or something like that they're not going to eat, or you know what I'm saying? And when you go to the feed store, if you go to the feed store and get stuff, it's almost free. I mean, this big bag at the feed store, this would probably be like $5 or something. Of course, it's only filled up halfway. I suggest gloves, even if they're just latex. But I really suggest these. They're real long rubber gloves. They go all the way up to your elbow. They go up to like right there. And to add to your coco cord, you might want to get some organic vermiculite. This isn't necessary, but I would get it if you can. I would get micropore tape. 3M is a brand name of it. Don't get the cloth, get the paper. This is what a roll looks like. This box has 10 rolls in it. You also need some parafilm tape. I don't have a pack of it yet, so I can't show you. But I did get this. It's called a Flaresol, and it's basically a a squirt bottle, but it's a special kind of squirt bottle where the misting is like really vaporized. You know what I mean? It's really small particles of water. That's what you really need. But again, and you do need some kind of spray bottle. But you can get one at Walmart, just a regular spray bottle, and put it all the way to mist. I don't have any gypsum, but you'd need to buy some gypsum or make gypsum. I actually have a video on how to make gypsum. You need some lysol to disinfect. So you need some 70% rubbing alcohol. And you have to get 70%. Don't get 91% because it evaporates too fast. Faster than it sterilizes or sanitizes. And if you're going to make your still air box with if you bought one that has a gasket for the lid and you're going to put holes in the side, you'll need about 6 inches of PVC pipe, big enough to get your arms through it, and 2 pieces of wood that are 1/2 inch thick and maybe 6-7 inches wide, squares. And you're going to need a big pot or a pressure cooker. But a lot of people actually know someone that has a big pot if you don't have a big pot. And you can always use smaller pots and just do, smaller, sterilized stuff. Smaller batches. Just do more times. There's only about 4 things that you really have to pay with money. The bins, the coco coir, and a spray bottle, and maybe the gypsum, and the grain that you grow it on. And that's about it. That's all you have to. The rest you can improvise on if you have no money. Okay, the last couple things I wanted to say was the big bin that you buy. This is like a 6-quart box, but whatever size box you get, you want it to be able to fit into the bigger box that you buy. You want 2 of them. You buy 2 of these, you want both of them to fit into the big box so that it's in a still air box when you're fruiting. Another thing I wanted to mention was when you buy your pressure cooker or your big pot, or you borrow it from someone, when you buy your jars, you want to make sure they fit in there with your trivet. Like I have a ring in there, and I put the jar on the ring. It better not be sticking out. It better have enough room for the pot. See, this one is too big. This is a pint one. It's perfect. Another thing I wanted to bring up about white rice, okay, is that you can use white rice. Like I have about 20 pounds of white rice here. Someone gave me from a food bank thing, and I'm going to try and use it. It's not as good as whole brown rice, but it still will work. Not as good, but whatever. And last but not least, if you want to save on bins, you don't have to buy any bins or any jars. You don't have to buy any jars anyway. You can just improvise. But if you didn't want to buy the bins, you could buy Uncle Ben's minute rice, right? Brown whole rice, and use the bag itself as the jar, and then just sprout your mushrooms from that bag, never putting it into a plastic bin. You know, you might not get as much mushrooms per bag or whatever, and those bags are probably expensive. But you could do it that way. I mean, if you get food stamps or something and you have too much food stamps, then it would be nice to just buy the bags. You wouldn't have to sterilize it. The rice is already sterilized and hydrated. You wouldn't have to do any casing soil. Well, you have to put a little casing soil on when you were ready to fruit. But other than that, you wouldn't have to really buy much. Oh, last two things I forgot to mention. You need paper towels, and you actually need some spores. You may say, well, what if you want magic mushroom spores? Well, back in the day, you'd buy a High Times magazine. I don't know if they still even make High Time magazine. And you'd brush through it, and you'd see an ad for it, and you'd send them a money order, and they'd send you the spores. Nowadays, though, with computers, just go online. There's probably a billion places to buy spores at. It's actually legal to buy magic mushroom spores and even germinate them, as long as they don't have sex. Once they have sex and turn into mycelium, that's when it becomes illegal. Anyways, you just have a great day, and always remember, science is great.